assuming that each one of you has a copy of the agenda.
Yep.
Is there anybody that does not? Because I can display it, I think. Okay, if not, we start with public input, and since we don't seem to have any members of the public, I don't think we have any public input. So we'll move to the approval of the July 6th minutes, which were distributed with the agenda. Were there any additions or corrections to the agenda, the minutes as distributed? Okay, could I have a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, Judd, we have a second. Thank you, Christine. Yes, usually Deborah does a lot of that. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from July 6th, say aye or raise your hand or something. All righty, thank you. Okay, the chair's report. I only allotted 5 minutes to my chair's report when I sent out the agenda last week. And then a few other things happened this week. So I may be a little more than 5 minutes, but we're ahead of schedule, so I can squander a few extra minutes. Okay, one of the things that we talked about at last meeting was at one time, the Connecticut Department of Transportation had a license for the Strava data. That's the cell phone app that shows you where people are riding their bikes. And I did finally find the right person at ConnDOT, and in fact, they no longer have a license for that data. So that's not something that's any longer available to us. This, I'm sure, was a cliffhanger for all of you. Tanner's appointment to the commission and Judd's and Collins' reappointments were passed by the Common Council. So we're now back to full strength. We also talked a little bit about Glover Avenue last month, and there are a number of projects going on in addition to the one I talked about in my chair's report last month, which was a section was repaved out in front of the tower's office complex. For those of you that are familiar with Glover Avenue, the southern end of it is on Main Avenue, and it goes, let's see, that would be east. No, yeah. And then it makes a 90-degree turn, and it runs parallel to Main Avenue all the way to Grist Mill, which is the road that's at the northern terminus of the Route 7 connector. And at that turn is a 3-building office building, and that section was repaved. And on the northbound side, there are sharrows, and on the northbound side, there is a bike lane, and on the southbound side, there are sharrows. In addition to those, there is a project by the state, which I have not yet been able to trace down, where the road comes off of Main Avenue. There's a bridge over the Norwalk River, and there is a state project to widen that bridge from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. And I don't know what kind of sidewalk or bicycle treatment will be done to that, but I will attempt to find out. The section north of the recently repaved part is the part that goes by the Merritt 7 Railroad Station, and the state has a project to move that station a little further north, and then obviously repave the road, both in front of the present station and in front of the new station. And then as you continue to go further north, there is a 3-building apartment complex being built. The first building is occupied. The second building, I believe, is ready to be occupied or very close to it. And the third building is about halfway framed. And obviously then the developer will be repaving that section of the road as well. And we have had a verbal commitment to make that a complete street. In addition to that, across the street from that apartment complex, BLT has bought up most of the land on that side of the street. And there is a project called North 7, and the master
Question, what does BLT stand for?
Pardon?
Besides steak and lettuce tomato?
Yes.
Building
And I will
plan
send out
technology.
links to both the web page for the project and the master plan. But it does reference sidewalks and bike lanes where they fit. So, and there will be public hearings coming up on that. I would think in the early part of the fall. So we want to keep our eye on that as well. But we could be moving in the direction in the next probably 2 to 3 years of a complete street on Glover Avenue, which would be very nice. Oh, and in addition, they are planning to put bike racks at the new station when they move it further north, and they will be covered. So I think that could be a very nice demonstration project in Norwalk in a couple of years. Okay,
Follow-up question,
Yep,
Nancy.
sorry.
Just off the top of your head, do you know what the rationale is for moving the station?
The problem with the station, where it is right now, is it backs up on the Merit 7, the 6 Merit 7 office buildings.
Yeah.
But nobody in their right mind would take the train who worked at Merit 7, because there's no way of getting from the train to the office buildings unless you walk all the way around either north or south on Glover Avenue to Main Avenue and then go. So it would be probably at least a mile walk. One of the features of that train station is there will be an elevator that will take you up and over and directly in to 601 Merit 7. So
Great.
Then using the train to commute to those office buildings would be something a reasonable human being might do.
Cool.
Plus, I think also there's some ADA stuff in that.
Awesome. Assumingly people will be able to move then from the one building where the elevator spits out to the other buildings?
Correct.
That's awesome.
That would be a much more, I mean, even from I think 601 to Merit 7, which is the southernmost building, to 101 Merit 7, which is the northernmost building, would at most be a half a mile. And I don't think it's even that much. But it would definitely, it would be more than a mile to do that today. Because the problem is there's no way to get over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, and then the last thing, second to last thing. As I think many of you are aware, at 50 Washington Street in South Norwalk, the tallest building in Norwalk, I believe, the city redid the front area and made it into a park. And we were initially told that there would be bike racks there. There are not. And I happened to read in Nancy on Norwalk this morning that the chair of the Planning Commission is rather upset about that, because that was part of the vision when they approved the plans. In addition to that park, across the street, there's another parcel that the city has gotten a grant to make into a park as well. And amongst other things that got left out of the park directly in front of 50 Washington Street, that new park should have the bike racks that wouldn't fit in 50 Washington Street. So that's another thing that we want to keep our eye on. And if you want to read all the details, if you look at nancyonnorwalk.com for today's issue, you'll find that that's the second article. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is I did distribute the link to a website. Bridgeport has started a complete streets project, and they've hired a consultant who is supposed to be making a complete streets guide for Bridgeport, and they have a group of citizens advising them, and I sit on that group because I think that obviously we're not really interested in complete streets in Bridgeport so much, but I'm hoping that their guide will have some things that we can make use of as well in Norwalk. And Catherine, do you want to say a couple of words about where we are with complete streets and Vision Zero in Norwalk? With your mic on.
I have to, we all have to remember to mute, unmute, mute, unmute. So we are in the process of putting together an RFQ for the Transportation Master Plan, the updated Transportation Master Plan from 2012. So we can narrow it down to a consultant to help us put together, develop a scope for the citywide Transportation Master Plan. When a consultant is selected, then of course the Bike Walk Commission will have representation on that related to the Transportation Master Plan. Now, like we said pre-COVID, we were going down the road with the Vision Zero platform. Both the Transportation Master Plan and the Vision Zero both require task forces or committees that include not only city personnel, but also representation from the Bike Walk Commission and other citizens as well. But what we don't want is to have those two processes be siloed. We think at this point, given that we're in the middle of COVID and not really sure how all of this is going to balance out, that Vision Zero should be part of the thought process behind the overall Transportation Master Plan. And we'll also include the complete streets. We are also putting together a policy for complete streets. Now, we've done some complete street type of installations, although maybe when we did it, it wasn't like I guess we weren't calling it complete streets at that point. So that does exist. There are some of the design standards related to DPW also include language about requiring where it's possible to have complete street installations. The LOTSIP grants that we have obtained for West Washington and for the East Wall areas are pretty much complete street type of installations. In the West Washington area, that was a $2 million grant, and the East Wall is about 1.6 million.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think it's fair to say that's one of the initiatives that kind of got sidetracked once the COVID crisis hit. And like this commission, I think it's working its way to getting back on track, or at least close to it. So that's great.
Could you repeat those grant numbers really quick?
Oh, sure. The West Washington, I believe it's about 2 million, and the East Wall 1.6. And if there's anything else, you can call us, Colin, if you want to talk about it more.
I'd rather call you Catherine.
You're funny. You can call me Catherine.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you, Catherine. So now we can move to standing reports. And as I mentioned, I'd like to move Greg up to the top for two reasons. In the year plus he's been with us, he's always had to twiddle his thumbs while everybody else gave their reports. So it seems only fitting that perhaps we should let him be the lead-off report for a while. And also because Catherine has to leave at 6:45, and I think she would like to be here for his report. So Greg?
Oh, I appreciate it, and I'll be very quick because Catherine, already got to the complete streets and Vision Zero, and we're doing the master plan as well. So regarding the bike plan, obviously Nancy and I, along with Judd and Catherine and Mike, and a representative from DPW had met and discussed about our bike plan. I'm sure Judd will get to that when he speaks as well. So we have 4 streets that we're on track for installing Charles this year. Cove Ave, 5th Street and 1st Street are targeted to be paved by the end of this year. And we're hoping to get those symbols put onto the roadways after they're paved. And then we're also looking at Hanford Place as well, which is not on the paving schedule this year. But we'd like to see if we can get Charles on there to make that connection between Water Street and Monroe, to make that connection between the two and complete that. It's not a long stretch, it's only about 800 feet of roadway, so it won't take too much, but we're just looking at where we can put the signage and where the symbols should be placed right now. So those 4 streets we're at least on track for this year. Looking at some project updates. No new updates right now on the connectivity grant. We're still working with the state right now. Things there are a little different from what we are doing in the city. I believe the DOT is still working from home for the most part. So things are kind of dragging a little bit. So they have the design plans and we're working with them and the district as well for the field review. So we'll keep updating you on that. The Highland Ave Safe Routes to School project, our drafter is working on the draft plans right now, and we'll be finalizing those soon. And then Flax Hill Highland, the intersection redesign, we're waiting to do a public meeting once we're able to do it in a public setting and not a Zoom call. So that'll be moving along at some point, but hopefully once everything kind of settles a little bit, we'll be able to do it in person and not a Zoom call with a lot of public representation. So other than that, that's pretty much it. Catherine pretty much hit on everything else. So that's pretty much it for my report.
Hey, Greg, on Flax Hill and Highland, once we have the public meeting, are there other hoops we need to go through, or is that pretty much the end of the road?
As well, the money is there. The grant money is there that we received. So it's just a matter of finalizing the design and moving forward. But there's been some pushback, obviously, from the residents in the area. This is not the first time the city's tried to do this. So we're going to hopefully have a lot of representation from the schools in the area and also from other, you guys and the commissions as well, so that we can help push that through.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is, whether it seems like waiting till we can do a real in-person meeting rather than a Zoom meeting is really going to slow things down or not, or maybe that's not a question you can answer.
Yeah, I can't tell you. It's hard to do a Zoom call with, if there's 100 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
it's rather difficult.
Yeah, we've been looking into that, so we will have to get back to you because, again, we would like to move this along because it is grant funded, and I don't know how long those funds are going to last. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how long it's going to be before we can have 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 people. I'm not sure if that's how many this project would exactly attract, but so we're not sure how that would work because it does need that public representation. And we want to make sure it's valuable. After that, then I believe, and Mike's on the phone, I believe it would be designed and then go through the normal construction process.
Yeah, it actually went through preliminary design and,
Okay.
and what would happen is the public informational meeting
okay, which then might have some influence on the design.
would move it to final design. So.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Christine, don't forget to unmute yourself.
And Jared, I know you had.
Question?
What?
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Christine has the floor, Tanner.
I've got a follow-up question for Greg. Is that all right?
I didn't quite hear you.
Dang it. Oh boy, I'm going to rejoin from a different computer.
I can see you now.
Oh, I just had a question, Greg, about, I know Judd has his hand up too, about the 5th Street. And about that intersection that Mike was involved with last year, about the danger of how it's marked right now with the bike lane going toward the right down Fitch Street from Strawberry Hill, and then there's no indicator to go straight if a cyclist was going under the bridge straight. Is that part of the plan?
Oh, no, that's a different, that's Strawberry Hill. I don't know. We have to look at that separately. That's not one of the projects that we're currently working on at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike can speak to that. We talked about this intersection almost 2 years ago, that it needed some attention, and I just figured you mentioned Fitch, and that's where it is, so. I didn't get to go to the meeting that you guys were at, but I would have brought it up then.
Christine, I'll bring it up at the subcommittee meeting so we can talk about that some more, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I
Christine,
wasn't aware of that, so.
what Greg had said was First Street, not Fitch.
Yeah, I thought it was Fitch at first too. But
Okay.
and I realized it was First.
Sorry, I heard First and Fitch, but thank you.
Mike, I know we had talked about this a couple of times before. And the issue is if you're going south on Strawberry Hill and you get to the stop sign at Fitch,
Well,
the
there's no
bike
stop
lane,
sign.
the bike lane goes to the right. But a cyclist conceivably could want to go straight, and motorists expect 100% of the cyclists to turn right.
Turn right, yep.
I know we had talked about it, but I don't remember if we had come up with a solution.
We're looking at a couple things there, but we just don't have the depth of staffing to take on all these things at one time, as you probably know.
Yep, understand.
But we are looking like at possibly a three-way stop or a signal there, but we would have to we need to work with the East Norwalk district as well, neighborhood association as well on that one. So that.
Yeah, okay. Do you, just ballpark, do you have any idea when you or somebody on staff might have time? And no is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to sneak it into the Walk Bridge project, so it's,
okay.
Work in
Where
progress.
hopefully it won't be noticed.
Work in progress on that.
Yeah, okay, all right, thanks a lot. Anybody else have any other questions for Greg or anybody else in TMP that's here?
Nancy, I do.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judd.
Yep. Greg, any progress on Seaview? We had talked about that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to get back to you, Judd, because I wanted to talk to a couple of people in DPW as well who are on vacation.
Okay.
So probably next meeting that we have on the bike plan, we'll discuss that then.
Okay, good. Thank
I
you.
want to get as much information for you as possible.
All right. Sounds good.
All righty, thank you. Now we go back up to the beginning of the standing reports. Judd, you have anything on the bike plan?
Well, I think Greg covered it, and the discussion we just had covered it. So
Yep.
I think it would be a repeat.
Okay, thank you for not repeating.
Okay.
Okie doke. Barbara, I think we actually have an event maybe.
The non-event program. In anticipation of better days, we did restock the bike safety brochures that we got them from the League of American Bicyclists. We also received 400 bags that will be giveaways when we do have an event. And thanks to Teresa for saving. I want to show you a bag. I don't know if I can get it up there.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of pretty, but it's, you know, it's like a backpack for kids, but it's got our logo. They did a real good job. And we got 400 of them to give away.
That's great.
We just need an event to do it at. We have sent in an application to participate in the National Night Out. Currently, it's scheduled for October 6th. We're hopeful. That's really it.
Well, thank you. And we'll keep our fingers. All right, Christine, sorry.
Sorry, Barbara, I'm sorry. You said something about the League of American Bicyclists, but I didn't hear what you said about them.
Oh, that's where we get our bike safety brochures. I just wanted to give them a little credit because they sent it so
Yeah.
nicely.
And they are in English and Spanish.
We have a total of about 400, 450. They're being stored at the health department. So when we're ready.
Nancy, are those the ones we got last year, you mean, those?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
we're just restocking.
And thanks to Judd, we have a stamp where we can stamp on each of those brochures. I think it says donated by the Norwalk Bike Walk Commission,
Yeah, courtesy or donated.
something like that.
Yep.
Brought to you by your friends at the Norwalk Bike Walk Commission.
Yep.
Alrighty, Jim, how's life on the NRVT?
So there's no terribly dramatic news this month. The missing link has continued its path through council and the city government. So we're progressing, and we're now to the bidding stage. This is a sizable contract and sizable project, and so it will be going through all the city and state regulations, so it will move at a somewhat slower pace, but the anticipation is still that it will be going out to bid shortly, and we hope for some sort of contract agreement by this fall and construction to commence thereafter. Mike, is there any further update in that regard?
No, that's pretty much where we're at. We need to get the invoice from the mayor signed a document. We returned it. DOT needs to process the invoice, and we need to send our deposit in, and we'll be authorized to bid. So probably should be authorized in the next couple weeks.
We're getting close.
Yeah, very close. We're almost there, Jim.
So Will Walk is really a similar notion. Again, the Norwalk portion of Will Walk is the Grist Mill to Kent Road. And that project is really administered through Wilton, and it faces the same technical legality questions, et cetera, as we have on the missing link. But that is proceeding in order, and I think it would be fair to say that we hope to also have that one out to bid this year. Mike, a question for you. I know there was this access agreement question at some point. Had there been any further developments on that?
I think it's been resolved. I think there. I'm not sure exactly where it is, Jim, but I don't know if they got the map yet from Stantec. I think that was the only thing they were waiting on.
Okay, so that agreement is our Norwalk's only remaining obligation before the I's are dotted and T's are crossed on that. 40 Cross Street, this has, it's been gratifying in that the redevelopment agency has actually been working on pushing this one ahead after a great deal of delays. Brian at redevelopment has met with the new owners of 40 Cross Street, has presented to them our desire to expand the trail from a sidewalk from 4 feet to at least 6 feet, and they have been, at least initially, receptive to that. Again, there's the usual and significant details to follow up, like we have to reassure them that it's not going to jeopardize their parking and all that kind of stuff. But it appears that all of those things can be accommodated. And so I feel like that is going to continue apace, and hopefully we can tag it along with the missing link, and we'll actually have a real intersection on the trail. I guess two small points to touch on in closing. One would be fundraising. Again, as you know, we needed to raise $275,000 to complete our match for the Will Walk project. And we have essentially 250,000 accounted for. So the last 25,000 is what we're working on now, and we're working on that in Norwalk, but it is an uphill push in this kind of economic and environmental viral crisis. So that's a struggle, but we are working on that. And again, our assumption is that all that will get put into place, and we're moving ahead on all of our contracts in that regard. And my final point will be on the enhanced wayfinding, which, Mike, I don't believe that has advanced given its priority in things. Is there any update there?
We did order those signs that we talked about. They haven't come in yet.
What about the notion of a more dynamic road crossing, painting, etc. kind of initiative? Is there any update on that?
No, I don't have any on that, Jim.
Okay.
No.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know they were interested in the signage, so we have ordered the signs, and then maybe after that we'll see if the road marking, works, if we need it.
All right. Well, all this, in my view, as the trail really comes alive in the spring, and we really are tying together our various pieces, and we actually have a 3.5 mile ride off-road. We want to make sure our street crossings are well noted and our directions are well noted. So I see a big push in that direction, kind of as a follow-up, riding in the wake of construction starting on the missing link. That's it, Nancy.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. Anybody else have any questions for Jim?
I have a question for Jim. One of my neighbors told me that the food truck that's on Riverside Avenue, do you know that food truck?
I do.
That he was going to be allowed to stay there. And I drove yesterday, and I can't imagine how the trail would fit if he was there. Is that, you know about that?
Well, Mike, maybe you can give me the specific directions, but I believe the trail goes behind the truck there, over more into that flat sort of park-like land behind him in that specific location.
Yeah, I believe it's behind him, but I'm not sure that he'll be able to stay there. I mean,
He's got tables that go right down to the water almost.
Yeah, well, it's not a permitted use there, but
Oh.
nobody really bothers him, I guess.
Can I ask where this is exactly? Mostly so I can visit this food truck.
I heard it's good. I haven't eaten. It's across from Riverside Cemetery on Riverside Avenue.
Is it near the intersection where the Wendy's is, or farther south of that?
Farther south, but not far.
All right, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Christine? Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Jim, just thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. As a cyclist, like, I just cannot wait for this thing. I mean, and I'm happy to help however I can. But was the signage you're talking about with Mike right at that major intersection where the courthouse is, and then to get over behind the cross street building? Is that where you're talking about having signage at that major intersection?
Well, we need it at every major intersection. This specific, the first question came up when you're at the turn coming under I-95 and turning left and going up into Pine Island Cemetery. They're at the transfer station. So that's the first one. it's a left turn, and the trail has a different texture there going into the cemetery. And so people get confused about, is this the trail? Where's the trail? But, you know, I think we will have that same kind of problem at every major intersection. We have a left turn when we cross, I guess it's West Avenue, and go up behind the Y. And so all of those intersections have to be made kind of idiot proof, so that people that are visitors or people that are not familiar with the trail or with Norwalk can figure out where to go. So we want to make that prominent, and ideally with markings in the street, so you can follow the yellow brick road, so to speak. And if you follow the yellow brick road, you're always on the NRVT. So that's our vision of what we'd like to have, is very identifiable trail markings along the trail and in the street, without creating sign pollution, of course, but trying to make it visually easy to follow. That's the objective of what the wayfinding project's about.
Jim, just one question, or rather an idea. Since you mentioned this section between, I think it's Oyster Shell Park by the transfer station, I just looked at the map. It's like 300 feet between when the trail pops out of the park and when it enters the cemetery. You know, if you're going northbound, you know, where it crosses the railroad track there.
Right. Yep.
That seems like a really good place to pilot, like painting the road, right?
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, great. Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. John.
Oh. Jim, you mentioned that you had raised, what, 250,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is there a list of, was that through some major donors, or was it mostly small, you know, hundreds of small donations, or?
I have to acknowledge that most of that money has come from the citizens of Wilton. I mean, again, Wilwalk is both towns, and even though of this first segment that we're doing, I think it's a 3-mile segment, a 3-mile distance from Grist Mill to Wolf Pit.
Yeah.
The first mile that we're doing is almost all in Norwalk, but the funds, whether they come from Wilton or Norwalk, go to the project overall. So that was individual citizens in Wilton, and also the city of Norwalk has provided $50,000 in there as well. Norwalk individual citizens are relatively small in their small gifts. So our campaign now to get this last $25,000 is really directed toward corporations and businesses, and we're after the usual suspects, I would say, but importantly, the people that that have direct benefits, such as developers and apartment providers and commercial real estate interests, because these are amenities that appeal to their tenants, and so that's who we're after. We think it's kind of their time to, I mean, they talk about us and advertise us as an amenity. It's time to put their money where their mouth is.
But you haven't got any large corporate donations yet.
We have not. You know,
Well,
in
actually,
truth, we have not gone after these folks. Our campaign strategy, our strategy of raising money in Norwalk was always that once we build a missing link and everybody can see the trail and we're visible, that we will now have a critical mass that puts it in a position where we can say, see that? That's coming to your back door. And if you want to get it all the way to your back door, ante up. But we were waiting until we had that prominent segment completed. But when we came up short on the 275, and to be clear on that, we initially had the 275, but we had some some backsliding with the virus and economy and some of those kind of issues. And so we went back under 275. So now we're having to claw our way back, and it's all hands on deck. So I think we will get corporate givers, but in honesty, we haven't been after them until the last couple of months.
Yeah, Judd, well, everybody, to date, pretty much all of the trail in Norwalk has been funded by the city. And this is the first significant stretch in Norwalk that is being privately funded. And late breaking news, for those of you that don't know, I also happen to be on the board of the Friends of the NRVT. And Beth Merrill, who's the executive director, and I did make a fundraising call this morning, and we got a $2,500 donation. So
Wow,
we're
good.
slowly on our way. But it take, you don't just pick up the phone and say, hey, would you give us $10,000? It takes a little bit of time to build a relationship with a person and a company. And we really haven't, as Jim said, spent a lot of time at doing that until now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
All righty, thank you, Jim. The next one is the pedestrian plan, and you'll notice that there's still no chair there because we still have no chair. We are working on trying to cultivate some new members who might step up to the plate and perhaps co-chair with somebody else. The main initiative that we're working on right now is Doug Hempstead, who used to be on the Common Council and first started participating in the pedestrian committee when he was on the Common Council, has stayed on the committee, and he's been drafting up a survey to send out, asking about people's walking habits to try to shine a bit of light on walking in Norwalk and to get some sense of where people's priorities are as far as walking. He has been telling me that he's also working on one for biking, but he hasn't quite gotten to it yet. The other major initiative for the Pedestrian Plan Committee has been around improving sidewalks near the schools. And we have decided that perhaps we need to wait till at least October to talk to the schools about anything other than what they've already got on their plate. So that's it for the pedestrian committee. Christine, safety and education.
I have to jump. Good night,
Okay, thanks,
everybody.
Christine?
Yeah, well, I was interested in what you were saying about Doug Hempstead. I may reach out to him, Nancy, and maybe
Sure.
work with him. Because the bike education, maybe we can partner up with the pedestrian. I mean, there's some similar overlaps, I think.
Sure.
I don't really have anything to report. I was unsuccessful reaching out to the Norwalk Recreation Department. They are not doing any classes. I offered my expertise for a socially distanced parking lot kind of classroom experience for 4 hours with a small group, but they're very strict right now. So all they said was if I have a video, they would upload it to the website. If I wanted to make a video. So, and I don't really have the skills for that or the help for that. But maybe I could have something like from the league website, maybe have them upload something to the website.
Sure.
Bike safety.
Yeah,
video.
because it would be great to give it at least some prominence.
Yeah. You mean give what some prominence? I'm sorry.
Bike safety.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. All right, I'll try to tie that up this week.
Okay, great.
I'll let you know.
Before you have to go back to school. Thanks a lot. Alrighty, that brings us to old business, and we had talked about a two-sided safety card last month. And I have since had extended email conversation with a printer who does work for the city, and that was attached to this agenda. And I think that one I will attempt to see if I can share my screen. And agenda. Okay. And, oops. It doesn't seem to want to go up. Well, let's see here if I go. Basically, all I did was I took the verbiage that we had last month. I found a picture of a cyclist and I slapped it up on top, and the printer made it all color and laid it out so it looked pretty. And the bicycling would be on one side, the walking tips would be on the other, and let's see if I can, and at the bottom it would have all of our contact information on both sides. And my recollection is last month people were sort of divided as to whether they thought this was a good idea or not. So I think tonight we need to decide if this is something we want to move forward with, and if we do, how we're going to go about distributing it. Because one of the questions that the printer asked me, which is a very reasonable question, is how many of these would you like? And I said, well, beats me. So I guess the first point of discussion is this something we feel that the commission should go forward with? Don't all talk at once.
I have a piece of feedback. Can you hear me?
Actually, I'm going to stop sharing the screen unless anybody needs it so that I can see all of you. Yeah, Judd?
Yep. Yeah, no, I think we should go ahead with it. The only thing is, I think that number 4, keep alert at all times. Don't be distracted by electronic devices. I think there's probably a fair number of the population out there that might not understand what that means. And, I think it should be more direct about walking with earbuds in place with your back to traffic. I know I mentioned that before, but
Okay.
I don't know exactly what that language should be, but I see that's such a common thing. I see it when I'm out walking, when I'm running, when I'm on my bicycle. I come upon people, I ring the bell on my bike to let me know they're coming, and they don't even, there's no movement or nothing. So
yeah, I have the same issue, particularly on the bike when I'm passing pedestrians who are walking with traffic with earbuds in, and I'll yell at them that I'm, coming by on their left, and there's no reaction whatsoever.
Right. And
occasionally when I actually get in front of them, they'll go, get some, oh.
Yeah.
So, all right, suppose we do keep alert at all times, and then after the semicolon, don't use earbuds, or we want to say,
while walking with your back to traffic.
okay.
Does
we want to say anything about cell phone usage?
Yeah, I mean, all of these things would be less dangerous if they, if people were walking facing traffic.
Right.
But,
I think we do have that, don't we?
I don't know.
No, we don't. So you know what? Maybe we should make number 4 number 1 and say, all right, so what I would say is always walk, well, except if there's no sidewalk, because if there's a sidewalk on one side of the street but not on the other,
yep,
you want pedestrians to use the sidewalk. even if it's on the wrong side of the street. So maybe we can make number 4, if there's no sidewalk, walk with traffic.
Yep.
And then don't be distracted by, or I guess, I can just say that, semicolon, don't use earbuds while walking with your back to traffic. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yep. I mean,
How does everybody else feel?
anybody else have a thought on that?
Oh, we do have, I'm sorry, number 3 is if there's no sidewalk, walk facing traffic and as far from traffic as possible. So maybe keeping number 4 as keep alert at all times. Don't use earbuds while walking with your back to traffic. Makes sense.
Nancy, one of the attendees from the public, Sam Ebert, asked about if you could scroll up when you were showing the card. I don't know if you can put the whole thing on there again. I'm not sure if you got to see it or not.
Okay, agenda. I don't seem to have a little, hang on just a minute here. The agenda actually is also available on the city's website. Oops, wrong thing here. Okay, I think that's got the whole thing in, except it chopped the head off, half the head off the bicyclist. Anyway, our agendas are always available on norwalkct.org, and up towards the, down in the center towards the bottom, there are 3 or 4 buttons, and one of them is for agendas of meetings, I think.
Yep.
Nancy, I have another piece of feedback for this. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So the graphic that you got of the cyclist, I'm glad that there's a graphic there, but I'm wondering if we could pick a better one in particular, because the graphic is pretty clearly of like a very athletic cyclist, both from like the hunched over position and the drop handlebars and the aerodynamic helmet. I think we could probably find some images, and I've actually just pulled up a few here while I was noodling around, but I think we could find one that's more inclusive of people who are biking for reasons besides like trying to get tens of miles in at a time. People who are biking for transportation, or just maybe who aren't maybe as fit as an athletic cyclist.
Sure. If you want to send them my way, that would be great. Or because I know Christine also had an issue that it might be nice to have a cyclist or a pedestrian of color.
Yeah, that would be great too.
And Christine, I don't know if you had a chance to look for any.
Nancy, I'm sorry, I can, or Tanner, we can, do something joint through email, Tanner, because I agree with you about this logo. There was a different one before of a white heterosexual family, 2 kids, boy, girl, mother, father. And then,
that's the pedestrian one.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, Nancy, I'll do it tomorrow during the hurricane.
Okay. As long as you have electricity.
I'll share the ones. I'll start the thread, and I'll share the 3 or 4 pictures that I found so far.
That'd be great. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments about the contents? And let's see if I can get this to go down to it. Okay. That's
Nancy,
the
who was that
pedestrian
spoke
one.
up just now? Was that Christine?
Okay. So
Yes.
are we pretty much okay with the content? With those couple of changes? Okay. I'll assume that we are. And then the next question is, do we really want to print these and distribute them? And if so, how are we going to go about doing that? Because, you know, a lot of the logical places like the health department, for example, the library, City Hall are not really available to us at the moment because there's no people in them.
Well, one place, Nancy, is at the food distribution places, and is this going to be in Spanish also? I would hope so. I don't know if you and I talked about that, but
Well,
what about?
Do we know anybody that can translate it into Spanish?
I can probably I can work on that, a teacher maybe.
Yeah, I can find people who can help with that too.
Okay.
But you have a good point about distribution, you know, and so I don't know. I don't know what other people think about this. Is this worth the time right now?
Well,
I'm happy to distribute where I can, where we think people are going to be.
I mean, I would think, you know, REI would be a spot, even though this particular card is for pedestrians, maybe the few bike shops in town. I would carry some with me in my car and maybe in my pannier on my bike and give them to individuals, but that's a very small amount.
Yeah.
You know,
would it maybe be reasonable to make the changes now and maybe at our, say, October meeting, revisit how to distribute and see, you know, if by that time things have loosened up a bit? Because the problem is, you know, the kinds of places that a lot of people go, a lot of people aren't going now.
Yeah, I mean, how much is the printing cost on 1,000 of these? Do we know, or?
That's an excellent question, and I did get pricing, but I forgot to look it up before I came to this meeting. So let me see if I can fairly quickly find it.
To do that, I think maybe the Norwalk Community Health Center would be a good place. A lot of people that go to that community health center are pedestrians and bicyclists for transportation reasons.
Okay,
They get a lot of traffic.
that's a good idea.
Okay, let me just see if I can't quickly find the pricing, I can send it out to you later.
Is this on our website, Nat, or this should go up on our website too, right? Or is that just, am I stating the obvious?
Well, we sort of need somebody to revamp our website as well.
We don't have anybody with that. You mean with Deborah leaving, we don't have anyone?
Right. It's not a matter of actually doing the work. It's a matter of deciding what we want it to look like. Yeah, I can't put my hand on the quote quickly, so I will send that out to you. And maybe what I'll do is put this on our agenda next month, also under old business, and get a mock-up with the new wording and the new pictures. And we will definitely then have the pricing, and also give you guys some time, just, you know, as you go through your daily lives, you may say, oh, you know, as you go, because there are gyms that are open, that would, I suppose, be a place.
Gym, a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
And there's farmers markets.
Ooh.
Good, yep.
Do they typically have places where we can put a table out, or we can put out brochures?
I mean, I think so. We could ask, you know, the Rowayton is very popular. There's so many people go.
The farmers markets I've been to don't have a place to put out information.
I guess we'd have to ask.
Well, and perhaps bring a table and have a person there, so.
Right, it does take it, right. And you know what, now that you mention it, they may not, because then everybody else will be doing that with their information.
Right, and they often don't have a whole lot of extra space either. All right, so let's do that. Let's table this till next month, and I'll supply the things that I said I would supply, and maybe we'll all be able to give a little more thought to places where we might distribute it, because that would control how many of these things we're going to order. Okay, last piece of business, I mentioned during my chair's report last month that some people have mentioned that it might be good to have a vice chair in case I ever wanted to go on vacation the first Monday of the month. Or and as I think you all know, my term ends on June 30th of 2021, and I do not intend to serve another term because I've been at this for quite a while. So it would probably be good for at least one other person to have some idea of the things I do that are maybe not quite so visible. So there would be some of that institutional knowledge continuing on the commission, even if that person were not going to continue necessarily move up to become chair. And I thought that before we did that, we should probably get a legal opinion to see if we needed to have a change in the ordinance, because those of you that were around, was it only last October that the city reorganized its government? And that caused us to have to change the ordinance, well, not us to change the ordinance, us to go to the ordinance committee to ask the Common Council to change the ordinance that creates this commission, because some of the ex officio positions did not exist prior, or the current ex officio positions like Catherine and Greg did not exist at the time the original ordinance was written. So we had to go to the ordinance committee and have some people take it out and some people put in, and they had to go to the Common Council and be voted on and all that kind of stuff. And I thought before we created this position that it would probably be a good idea to check with legal and see if we had to do that. And their opinion, which is attached to the minutes, is that it does not. That we can just go ahead and create a vice chair and fill that position without consulting with the mayor or the Common Council or anybody else. So that now brings us to a decision. Is that something that we want to do? And I'm open to anybody's opinion.
Well, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And then I suppose it might make some sense for the entire commission to approve whoever it is, in case a majority of the commissioners think that would be a really, really, really bad idea, which I don't envision happening, but I think maybe that makes some sense. So I think maybe we should make this, although we don't often do things in a formal way, that we should entertain a motion to create a vice chair position to be approved by a majority of the commission.
You want to do that today?
Sure, if somebody would like to move it.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Oh, Barbara, and then we need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on just creating the position and how it's approved? Okay, if not, all in favor, either say aye or wave your hand or indicate somehow. Thank you. So, and I don't need an answer right now, but if there's anybody that is interested in the position, if you would let me know and we could talk a little bit, and I could probably give you a better idea of what I think would be involved. And then hopefully next month we would have a vice chair to approve as a new business item. So I don't know whether anybody wants to talk about it now or whether you'd like to think about it or what.
Can we nominate somebody?
Sure.
I nominate Judd.
I'll second that.
Oh, and we got a thumbs up. Well, Judd, is that something you want to think about? Or...
Yeah, I do want to think about it.
Okay, so we'll talk.
Yep. Yep.
And
Neither of you, the three of you, aren't interested?
well, I think we lost Colin somewhere along the way here.
Yeah. Who is Colin? Who else? Somebody else is missing. Who's missing?
Deborah.
Oh, Deborah.
I think she's in Vermont because she said she was having difficulty with internet access today,
Right.
so she might not be able to join
Right.
us.
But she's moving and leaving the commission.
Right.
So we have an open seat.
She currently is scheduled to close on her house the end of the month and move to Vermont full time.
Okay.
So that won't work.
Okay. All right. Well, Nancy, let's talk over the
Sure.
next month between now and the next meeting.
So maybe we can meet for dinner at the beach one night.
Yes.
Talk
Or on
over a
my porch.
glass of wine or two.
On my porch here. So.
Okie doke. If nobody else has anything to say, since we're at the end of our agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I just want to apologize to Judd first. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you seem to have the most institutional knowledge already.
Yeah, I've been here a long time. Longer than Nancy even, I think.
Yep,
Yeah. So,
but not by much.
nope. Not
Okay.
much.
Would somebody move to adjourn?
I've got one question and one quick report to make, Nancy.
Okay.
Just the report is that I have scheduled a time to meet with shoot, is her name Barbara, the one who is in the Vermont?
Deborah.
Deborah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we were supposed to meet this morning to talk about social media, but because of the Wi-Fi issue, we had to postpone that. So that's the report. The question I had was about the group on Facebook that I just found this last week called Livable Norwalk. I'm wondering if any of you know what it is. It looks like it has tons of members and doesn't get used very much. I'm wondering maybe if it used to be used much more, if anybody knows about that.
I suspect Colin probably does, but I think he dropped off.
Yeah, I think go back 7-8 years before the Bike Walk Commission was created. I used to hear about it now and then.
Yeah, try Colin, Tanner.
Okay.
And
But I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead, Nancy.
No, but it's been my experience that people will start Facebook pages because there's some hot topic of the moment and they'll have a lot of discussion and then it sort of sometimes wanes and virtually disappears.
Yeah.
So that might be the case with that one.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Colin. Thanks for the pointer.
Okie doke. So I'm still looking for somebody to move to adjourn. Tanner, would you like? Oh, okay, Barbara. I was going to say, Tanner, since this is your first meeting as an official commissioner, would you like to second the motion?
Sure. Actually, one more piece of quick feedback. There was an email that I think you sent out about looking for more funding for the NRVT, in particular that last 25K. And in particular, I think you invited us to email our state senator, whose name is escaping me right now, Bob Duff. So I went ahead and did that, and I also emailed Will Haskell, who represents Wilton, and I got a response from both of them. And I did the same thing on Twitter and got a response from one of them, I think Senator Duff's Twitter account. So they gave very non-committal answers, but they both seem to be supportive. So
yeah,
if that counts for anything. Anyway, with that said, I will second the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the evening before the hurricane or whatever it is we're getting comes.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.